Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel's Finding Value. And today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that this guy follows. If you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I dive deeper into all of these sectors, the macro picture, individual companies. I'm always looking for individual companies to put in the portfolio that provide good upside leverage, low downside risk, and try to find really good entry points using technical analysis. We do have a coupon code Mayday that is still active if you are interested in joining. MAYDAY, 50% off the first month only on the monthly membership, and then a bigger discount on the yearly membership if anyone wants to switch to the yearly membership. All right, so let's dive in here. Let's take a look. We've got the DXY, big move today, surprisingly. Pretty big bounce, and we'll see how sustaining this bounce is. We're up about 0.44% today. The momentum is still down, but we do have this big candlestick today. Is it the beginning of an up move, or is it just a fluke of a day? Don't know yet. We are underneath the resistance trend line that we have going up, that white line going across. We've broken out, and sometimes you get a return move up, and then we can head lower, potentially. That could be a potential case. We could also move upward and break all the way up. That is also in the cards still, even though we've had a break lower here in this trend line. But we'd have to recapture that resistance line to the upside, which is still above us up here. The 2-year yield is up 3.36%. I'm sure you guys have noticed that when yields are up, the dollar is up. Could this be a potential bottoming pattern where we start to move higher? I wouldn't go that far yet. I would just be watching, chilling and watching. We've got big move lower and a breakout. That's the breakout of this trend line here. And then what we want to do is we want to see if this is just a return move that rolls over or if there's any sort of staying power where we start to move on up. What's important here about this is that yields are what we should be using to gauge if this economy is strong or weak. A stronger economy generally ends up with yields going upward. So this was a strong economy, and a lot of the times it slows down and rolls over. They are doing a lot of fiscal spending. There's a lot of crap going on in the background here. So we broke this trend line to the downside. We very well could have a return move higher of a retest up here before rolling over. So I'm going to remain open to whatever outcome is possible here. But today, big move up in the 2-year yield and the 10-year and the 30-year. This does look like we could get a little bit of a move higher in the short term. But again, longer term, we've broken to the downside. And the momentum is downward at this time on the longer time frame. And then the 30-year also in a very similar situation. We're getting a little bit of a bounce underneath resistance, support resistance. It's underneath support or right below resistance. And is this just a retest move of a breakout where we come up like this and then work our way on lower? We'll find out. Difficult to say. TYX TNX ratio is coming back down, inverting a little bit, not uninverting, but inverting. This generally is a headwind to precious metals when the yield curve goes up more on the short end than the long end. So we came back a little bit today. Bond prices are down 0.84%, but I will say this. Longer term, we are still looking good to go higher. So this is all interconnected, guys. Bond prices and yields are just saying the same thing in opposite directions. Yields breaking down means bond prices are going up. And nothing's really changed there from this breakout yet. The 2 and 10 did invert today. Pretty big move of inversion the past 2 days. And we are if we were to draw a little bit of a trend line here, we are breaking that trend line today to the upside. Surprisingly, it has me by surprise, which could be a good or bad thing. It doesn't really matter. But this could also signal that maybe oil is about to break to the upside as well. Market participants look at oil, and oil can be a driver of monetary interest rates. So as credit enters the system, it has to translate through the number one commodity, which is oil. Oil going up generally pushes the consumer price index up, which then pushes the yield curve and inverts the yield curve, and it pushes interest rates higher. And we've got all these things occurring all at the same time in the macro environment, so to speak. So gold, surprisingly, is up 13.6%, but we're still inside of this rising wedge. Are we going to break this to the upside? Or are we going to come back down? And yields are a big factor of this. Looking at bond prices and yields, if yields continue to go down, I think we'll go up. If yields break to the down or to the upside, this would break to the downside. So that's something we can watch. We've got silver up massively today, 3.88%. And I hate to say this, guys, but this looks fantastic. Of a big setup here that's broken to the upside and looks good to go higher. Silver generally goes up when yields go down, and obviously when gold goes up. And that's generally when we see a market slowdown and it's anticipating further money printing. But big bullish engulfing there. Pretty big candlestick today. Looking pretty good. We've got platinum up 3.5%. It was racing silver all throughout the day. We're still underneath this resistance line. And I'm sure some people are like, well, how come it hasn't launched yet? Well, it hasn't launched because we're waiting for the commodity bull market to basically kick off here. And then I think platinum's going to go up with the commodity bull market. You'll see oil go up, platinum go up, probably copper go up, and we could all move up together, and the dollar could move lower too. Palladium up 1.6%, and that is off of support. Just coming a little bit above support there. And that does look pretty good. And we'll see if we can break this downtrend line. This is the downtrend line I drew earlier, and it's like right there trying to break through that downtrend line. It's right on top of it. We've got GDX up a little bit. Looks pretty good. We've got kind of this pattern going on here almost, somewhere in this range that we're trying to break there, that trend line. We've got GDXJ up 0.89%, right underneath resistance, ready to just rocket when this thing breaks. And then we got SILJ up 2.44%. Pretty big day today. Looking all right. Looks all right. We've got XEU to gold ratio outperforming gold a little bit, about 0.5% better. Coming from a really low level, I really like it down here, guys. I really, 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 really like it for the mining companies to work its way on up. And again, this could be driven by yields going lower. That's what historically has happened. Now, could there be something in the future where that relationship breaks down and gold and yields go up together? It can happen, and that's when people are running away from bonds. It could be countries or whatever, and they're running towards gold, and they're doing that right now. They are selling bonds and buying gold. Crude oil up 1.3%. I really want to see this break this trend line above us. I really, really want to see this, guys. If we can get up here and close and get, some distance away from this consolidation zone, I would be convinced. Now, keep in mind, last bull market, we went up, broke out, and then failed to come and then came back a good chunk. And I'm talking about this one here. We had a false little breakout, got killed to the downside, bottomed, and then did the slingshot higher. We could do something very similar to this, which was the year 2001. And in that 2001 here, you know what that was? That was 9/11, this pullback. Now, this 9/11 event here that pulled us back like that created the slingshot for the move higher here. when the yield curve uninverts, that is when we could get something like this. They do like a false flag event, like monkeypox or something, and it could easily do a shutdown or do some weird thing to bring the price of oil down for a period of time. It would also create demand for their bonds that they want to sell to the markets. So they could do something like that up their sleeve. If they do that, you now understand why or where it's coming from. So just an FYI there. TTF gas heading a little bit higher today, still looking good to work its way on up. We just have these flag patterns that are developing. We've got natural gas down a little bit, still good momentum, still working its way on up. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, finally getting back within the pattern, getting jiggy with it. Up 1.8%. What's good is that I'm finally seeing XOP outperform crude oil. It was underperforming all back here. Hopefully we get a break to the upside for crude oil, and then these guys will go ballistic. But that looks okay. We'll see if it continues. We've got OIH also up 2.14%. I was getting a little bit worried that this was going to be a continuation pattern lower. The overall markets did go higher today, and we did get a bid so far in energy service. Newcastle coal up 2.26%, looking good, feeling good. And coal companies looking pretty good today. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust down 1.85%. Kind of a larger selling pressure day today. It's also bearish engulfing. We'll see if there's any follow through if we come back here for uranium. The futures pricing doesn't look as bad. It's right in the corner there. Here, I'll get a line there. See, it's just going sideways. This is the dead period right at the bottom. The dead period is when the buyers equal the sellers. So what you see generally in these patterns here is you'll get a large sell-off, a smaller sell-off, a smaller sell-off, and then you get no selling pressure and you just go sideways. And then eventually the momentum turns and it goes on up. That's what a falling wedge is. It's the buyers starting to equal the sellers. And it usually does it in a 3-hump consolidation in a dead period. So that's what we're seeing there. It looks good to work its way on up. I know. Some of the prices was down in Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, but just be patient, guys. URA catching a bid, 1.4% higher. Kind of weak candlesticks, though. Like it almost doesn't want to go higher. You got URNM also up a little bit, and then we got URNJ up 2.5%. That looks a little better. I want to see these green candlesticks lengthen. I want them to get them big here, where the buyers come in and say, this is where we are going. And then you usually lay down a fat green candlestick or a big bullish engulfing where they gap it down and buyers push it up. Signals that we're going on up. I don't have that message yet from the market. It looks okay. It looks like it's slowly working its way and building steam. But this also was a pretty sharp sell-off here. I mean, this thing, it moved lower. So could we still get caught up in a sell-off? I don't know. I mean, we could. But let's see if we get some big green armies to show up of these big green candlesticks. That's what I'm looking for. Now, it showed up for copper. And what you see from this point forward, you see big red candlesticks, big red candlesticks, big red, big red. From this point forward, you see big green candlesticks and small red candlesticks. That generally indicates that we could move higher for copper. And we came back to the support level down here, this big trend line, basically and touched it. So think of it as a breakout and then a return move, retest. And hopefully we can work our way on up. Big bullish engulfing on the weekly if we can close tomorrow there. COPX up 3.7%. That also is trading very well with copper. So that's looking good. And that is a retest move of this breakout. So that looks pretty dang good to move on up. Iron ore holding steady right on support. And hopefully we can hold there. We've got aluminum up 1.3%, looking a little bit better versus just sitting on support. Hopefully we can get some momentum But lots of red candlesticks here, not too much of the green, if you notice. Almost like somebody's trying to manipulate it lower. I mean, if this was roulette, what are the chances of getting this many red days in a row? Like, what are the chances of that? Seems a little weird. Nickel down a little bit. That also getting some selling pressure there. We've got Moo up 1.6%. That's looking good. It's bouncing off support. Hopefully we can get some momentum generated. This is also at the bottom of a falling wedge pattern. So generally, this is a really good time to enter. Is at these tips where we can bounce off support because we got support underneath us and it's a wedge coming to that support zone. Emerging markets up, surprising with the weak, stronger dollar, stronger yields, but this continuing to work its way on up looks good for emerging markets. It looks like a reversal candlestick on support there, that big bullish piercing candlestick. KRE up 2.29% today, looking all right. I'm still curious to see if this holds or if we continue higher, because this here does look like a drop. And then you consolidate, and then usually you get one last drop. But today we were up a little bit, 2.3%. TAN up 2.6, still downtrending. We've got lithium up a little bit right on support. We'll see if we can get some support there, but the momentum is still down, holding it on that support region there. I can see we can get a little bit of a wick starting to show up at the bottom there on the monthly candlestick. REMX down, or up today, 2.76%. It is looking like it's trying to base out. Momentum is still lower until we get some follow through here. Baltic Dry Index up 3.47%, right on support. We got XHB up 1.8. Still looks a little bit weak though. I want follow through lower, so I want to buy some shares, guys. I want to see this sell off here. And it does look like we could do something like that. Something like that. We've got Russell 2000 up, right up against resistance. This trend line resistance going across there that I drew in a long time ago. We'll see if we can punch through or not. Got the SPX up 1.6. This is like defying gravity here. Almost like someone's pushing this up. We have a rising wedge. These generally break lower, but we gap up in the morning, come up, gap up in the morning, and then come up and try to force that. So what happens is when you get these gap up in the mornings, it changes people. It gets them all riled up and emotional. It's like, oh, it's going up. I got to get in. Sometimes it generates that response. The professionals, a lot of them, what they do is they gap it up and then they sell. They dump a bunch of stock on you. But we didn't see that today. It didn't dump after that big gap higher in the morning. It kept moving on higher, so it's still looking okay. And maybe we can work our way on up still. You can see these gaps here, which is weird. This is weird. This is what's really weird, guys. So here's your setup. Just to show you, here's your setup. Ultimately, your setup is a rising wedge. And then look at what happened here. As this started to break to the downside, the next day they gapped it up higher. They gapped it to the top side, let it run. Then they gapped it again in the morning. Why? Who's doing this? And why are they buying pre-market to do this? Is that the plunge protection team pushing this back higher? Could be. They need people in the SPX. They need people in the NASDAQ. Because if it rotates over into commodities, it is then seen in the consumer price index. And it's going to hurt people when they go buy gasoline or whatever. I think they're trying to prop this up and hold people in these assets. And I think they really started to prop it up right there. Because this is the Batman pattern. And then it just rocketed on up. We've got the NASDAQ also doing the same thing. There it is coming back basically within the pattern. And looky, the gappage again from the closing price there. And we got another gap today. They're just gapping it up pre-market. Why? Why are we getting these gaps there? Kind of interesting. SMCI up 8.59%. And then we've got NVIDIA 4%. That's still working its way on up. We do have a trend line break here. Bitcoin down 3.87% and Ethereum down 4.45%. What's going on there? What's with the disconnect between Ethereum, Bitcoin, NASDAQ, and S&P? So big selling pressure days today in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and we'll see if the momentum stays lower the next few trading days. But it's kind of a wash at the moment with the big selling pressure day today. This was quite, set up quite well to move higher. But this here is an anomaly, so to speak. Not really an anomaly, but seen a lot of selling pressure today in Bitcoin and Ethereum. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Thumb up for the content, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website if you guys want. We've got a Saturday question and answer session at 7 a.m. Mountain Time. Bring whatever questions. If you guys just want to sit and learn, I go over a whole bunch of different stuff. A lot of it's macro stuff, things that I look at, yield curve, yields. Some of the companies, we had a buyout recently. We'll talk about that. We also have other companies that I'm researching and other setups that might look good for what is coming. So that's what I've got for today. So we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.